Hey guys, so I have a question for you. Do you remember what it felt like when your when your parents told you that you weren't allowed to do something that you wanted to do? If you were anything like me, the moment that my parents told me that I was not allowed to do something, every fiber of my being wanted to do that something. Regardless of how harmful or dangerous it could have been to me, I wanted to do that thing only because I had been told that I shouldn't, or I couldn't, or I wasn't allowed to. So I think that dealing with our sexual integrity and making good choices, as far as sexual integrity is concerned, is a lot like that. We know that the effects of porn are really harmful. We know that an affair can rip apart a marriage or a family. We know the dangers, we know the risks, but the Bible has told us no. And especially when you make that conscious decision as a person to not travel down that path, for whatever reason, it's like our being is suddenly obsessed, infatuated with this one thing that we're not allowed to do. So I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, but if you go way back to Adam and Eve time, Adam and Eve had all these wonderful things, all these great blessings, a garden where they could thrive and live happily ever after. With one rule, one thing they were told that they weren't allowed to do, and in comes Satan. And Satan created this desire in Adam and Eve's flesh that made them say, I want to do that one thing that I've been told that I'm not allowed to do. And we see it repeated over and over throughout scriptures where people fall victim to their flesh. Paul says in Romans chapter 7 that he's like, I don't know what I'm doing, because what I don't want to do, I do. And then the things that I want to do, I don't do. And he goes on to talk about the spiritual warfare that's happening and just how he is battling with his fleshly desires and his spiritual expectations and his spiritual desires. And then if you've sat in any Sunday school class or any church sermon more than once, then I would assume that you've heard three names: David, Samson, and Solomon. Great, brave, powerful men who made a huge impact on the church and in spreading the good news of Christ and all these things. And every one of them took a loss for the battle against their sexual integrity. So we see that this battle has been going on from the beginning of creation. Satan's really good at it. He's not going to stop. So this is why, whether you are knee deep in a pornography addiction, whether you are in the middle of an affair, or if you've never seen pornography a day in your life, you are still fighting for your sexual integrity. You're still fighting to maintain it. Because if you have eyes to see, then you will come face to face with that temptation every day in magazines and commercials, books, movies. The other day, I saw this huge oversized billboard on the side of the interstate that was for a suit company, a men's suit company. And there were no men on the billboard. There was no suit on the billboard. It was just women. Satan knows what he's doing, guys. He's good at it. So, since we know that sexual integrity is not something that just people who struggle with a pornography addiction or a sexual addiction have to strive to maintain, I want to talk about how this is something that the church is not exempt from. Men and women in the church are not winning this battle right now. So it's time to stand up. It's time to make a difference. It's time to make a choice. I said in one of my first videos that this is something that affects our sons, our daughters, our brothers, our sisters, our husbands, our dads, our priests, our pastors. It affects everyone. If you have eyes to see, you are in this battle. And because the church is not exempt, I'll even say that the church is not winning this battle. But we will. Guys, I know you've probably read the end of the book. I have too. We win. But that doesn't mean we get to give up. This is not the time to cower in the face of sin. This is not the time to say that sexual sin has been prevalent for so many years. You know, you just said it's been there since the beginning of time. Old Testament guys were dealing with it. You know, what's a 21st century guy compared to Samson or David or Solomon? Who are we? We are a generation that can make a difference because we can make videos, we can talk to people, we can text people, we can hold people accountable. It is not the time to cower before Satan. It's not the time to cower before something that he is prevailing at. Rather, it is the time that we stand up and we arm ourselves with biblical truths and we take up this cross of our sexual integrity. We take up the cross of this battle and we fight. We fight for our marriages, for our kids, for our hearts. We fight for our church. It is not the time to sit down and be weak. Don't. So today, I want to take just 1 minute and I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to stand up and be brave and make a choice today that if you are in the middle of that affair, that you stop it today and that you work to heal your marriage and restore your relationship with Christ. If you are struggling with a pornography addiction, or if you are struggling with the temptation of it, or if you have eyes, I want you today to make a choice to be more than this sin, to be more than a temptation, to be more than what Satan thinks he can make of you. I want you to stand up. I want you to be strong. I want you to be proven.